G'day, ZiggyD here, back with another Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls guide. This time I want to give you guys a guide to how to farm the most efficiently, how to get the most legendaries in the shortest time for patch 2.1.0 in Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls. So the Greater Rifts brought with them what I thought to be not a very good way of farming loot, but when you started to combine the fact that you can kind of abuse the timer a little bit, you can start combining Greater Rifts with doing other things like bounties, so you can basically do two forms of farming at once. And when you start to do this, and when you start to sort of take advantage of the way it scales difficulty depending on how you do the Greater Rifts, you can actually get a lot of legendaries very, very quickly at the same time as doing bounties. So that's what I'm going to go through in this particular video here. So step 1. You want to set the game difficulty to whatever is a comfortable farming difficulty for your character. So if you normally farm on Torment 4, just go for Torment 4. If you're normally on Torment 6, go for Torment 6. If you're gearing up a new character in the season, you probably just want to start on easy. Then your next step is to obtain a Greater Rift Keystone. You should probably already be pretty familiar with this, but basically you can get one by killing the Rift Guardian in a regular rift. Next up, you'll want to use that Greater Rift Keystone to open the Realm of Trials. This is the little minigame, wave-based minigame beforehand that determines where you will begin in the Greater Rifts. Now, in this Realm of Trials, you're going to be looking like the biggest noob possible by purposefully failing. Basically, you run around in circles, don't kill anything, and wait until the timer runs out. And by doing this, you'll be awarded with a level 1 Greater Rift Key. Hooray! Yes, what a boss. So then you'll take that level 1 Greater Rift Key and you'll enter the Greater Rift. And then what you're going to do is, this part's really important here, so make sure you don't miss this part. You'll want to skip the first 3 or so packs, 3, 4, 5 packs. You know, basically the first half of the first section of the Greater Rift. Now, this will be revealed why later on. So skip over those first couple packs, maybe a couple of elites if you can, and then just start farming normally. And then what you're going to do is kill mobs regularly as quickly as you can, so hopefully you got like some decent movement skills set up, as well as some nice AoE killing, because everything in these level 1 rifts is going to die very quickly. In this video I'm using like a Marauder 6-piece setup, which is not really what you want to use for this. You want to use something like a Vault multi-shot spam setup or something, just like the fastest possible low difficulty farming you can. Though I suppose it's worth keeping in mind that even once you leave the Greater Rift, you still have to use the same skills you've got, so make sure it's a setup that's comfortable both for speed farming Greater Rifts and for doing your normal bounty runs, so keep that in mind. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to kill mobs as quickly as you can, progressing through the rift up until you get around to the point where you have about 95% completion. If you can stop it on 99% like a boss, then do that if you like, but otherwise stop it somewhere around the 95% completion. You don't want to accidentally trigger the boss essentially. Now what happens once you get to this point, once you're pretty much done with the rift for now, you're going to check the timer and note down what time it will be when there are approximately 4 minutes left in the rift. So for me, for example, in this run, there was about 10 minutes left, a little bit over 10 minutes left on the clock, and it was 7:11 PM on the actual clock. So I just said to myself, well, I need to finish this rift at 7:18 if I want to do it in time. So then you just leave the rift, you just portal out of the rift. Oh, craziness. So so now like you have like 7-10 minutes, maybe even more if you ran a bit faster, where you are basically just waiting for the timer to run down in the Greater Rift. So what you're going to do then is just go do bounties in the meantime. If you're farming for something like Ring of Royal Grandeur, this is a great time to work towards it. So depending on your clear speed, you might be able to do like 2 or 3 bounties while you're waiting for the timer to run down. Just keep one eye and keep in the back of your mind the time that you actually need to go back and complete the Greater Rift, because you don't want to accidentally fail it and miss that timer. So if you're a forgetful person, it might be handy to keep a little notepad near you to write down that time. So then once you finally reach that time, you'll want to portal back to town and enter the rift via the purple portal again. Now what this does is this brings you back to the start of the Greater Rift. Now if you had fully cleared the Greater Rift, you would have to run back up to where you were killing mobs. There is another alternate way of doing this, but I think this is the fastest way. Essentially, by leaving those first 3 packs of mobs with only like 95% plus left on the rift, or a few percent left on the rift to go, you can just kill the mobs you left previously and grab their little purple baubles and that, and you should be able to spawn the boss very quickly off 1 or 2 packs. So then you're going to kill the boss, get all of your sweet loots, and then Ursula will spawn, you'll talk to her, and you'll choose to upgrade your Rift Keystone, your Greater Rift Keystone. Now, because you left it so that there was, after like 4 minutes remaining, so there was only 4 minutes or less remaining on the Greater Rift when you killed the boss, hopefully finished, somewhere, I think it's 4 minutes 30 is the exact time, but playing within like that 4-minute mark there is the safest way to do it. You'll only get +1 to your Greater Rift Keystone level, so when you choose to upgrade your Greater Rift Keystone, she'll call you a noob and give you only a level 2 Greater Rift Keystone, and then when you do it on level 2, she'll give you level 3 and so on. The idea is to move up as slowly as possible so that you keep those rifts as easy as possible so you can run them as as quickly as possible. So once you get your +1 Greater Rift Keystone, you can simply leave. If you need to remake the game to respawn your bounties, you can do so. Otherwise, you can keep going with your bounties until you get your Heraldric Cache. And then you just jump into the next Greater Rift and do the same thing. Now, you'll keep repeating this process through all of the easy Greater Rifts until it starts to reach the point where it's, for your gear level, it stops becoming efficient, essentially, where it stops becoming fast. So maybe let's say you're pretty poorly geared, you get to somewhere like Greater Rift level 12, and you're getting to the point now where there's no real time. Like, you couldn't leave the Greater Rift and go do bounties because you would lose, like you would fail the Rift. So do it until about that point, and then store that Rift Keystone aside, or upgrade some of the gems you've got. You have that option there, or you can just save it until you're better geared. And then you just go back and start it from the start again, so you go back to your Greater Rift Keystone. So the core idea here is that by running these lower level Greater Rifts, you can do them very, very quickly. And then when that timer is running down, because there's kind of a set time for rifts, at least to do it with this sort of efficient method, you can sort of plug in another form of farming on top of that by doing those bounties, so you can work your way towards your Ring of Royal Grandeur, maybe get a few extra legendary drops here and there, at the same time as getting that big burst of loot from the Greater Rift boss, which you can get to very quickly. Essentially, you're doing these Greater Rifts in like a couple minutes, like 4 or 5 minutes, less than that if you're very efficient with this. And because although it's still taking like 15 minutes like in the actual timer, the actual time you're dedicating to the Rift is only a couple of minutes, so it ends up being pretty efficient. Now, I think this is a great way to gear up new players, new characters on the seasons, or even just to gear up more experienced characters if you just want to maximize the amount of legendaries you're getting. It's a bit silly, it's a bit of a silly farming method, but it is efficient, and it's reasonably fun, because you get a bit of that variety. Instead of just running rifts over and over again, you're doing a bit of a mixture of kind of these cheesy Greater Rifts and then doing your regular bounties, so it feels kind of fun, I thought. But I thought you guys would be interested in seeing this. If you have any questions about the method or how it works, or any suggestions on how I can improve it, feel free to let me know in the comments below. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.